Chapter 6. Imagination. Imagination is the workshop of the mind. It is where every plan, every dream, every invention, and every fortune is born. Napoleon Hill reminds us that wealth is never created by accident. It always begins with an idea, and the birthplace of that idea is imagination. Think about it. Every skyscraper in New York, every airplane that crosses the sky, every company that dominates Wall Street, every app on your phone, every medical discovery that saves lives, at one point, none of it existed. It was invisible. It was only a thought in someone's mind. And through imagination, that invisible thought was transformed into a reality so big that it now shapes the way we live. This chapter is about more than just being creative. It's about understanding imagination as a practical tool for wealth building. It's about learning how to harness this powerful mental faculty to turn your desire for riches into actual results. Hill divides imagination into two types: synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Both are essential, and both can be developed. The two types of imagination. Synthetic imagination. This is when you take old concepts, ideas, or plans and rearrange them into new combinations. Most businesses use synthetic imagination. For example, Henry Ford did not invent the automobile, but he organized existing ideas about engines, wheels, and mass production into something far greater: the affordable car for every American family. He took what already existed and restructured it in a way that created new wealth. Creative imagination. This is when entirely new ideas, inspirations, or flashes of genius come into the human mind. It is often linked with what Hill calls infinite intelligence. Great breakthroughs in science, art, and industry come through creative imagination. Think of the Wright brothers. No one had flown before. They tapped into creative imagination to bring humanity into the air. Both types of imagination can make you rich. One is about rearranging what already exists. The other is about receiving entirely new ideas. But neither works without one critical ingredient: desire. Why desire fuels imagination? A weak desire produces weak ideas. A burning desire opens doors in the mind that would otherwise stay locked. When you truly want something, your imagination begins to work overtime, searching for ways to achieve it. Imagine an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley who burns with the desire to change how people shop. That desire fuels imagination. It's why Jeff Bezos imagined Amazon, starting with books, then expanding to everything under the sun. Without burning desire, there is no energy for imagination to act upon. Hill teaches us that imagination responds to desire, just like fertile soil responds to a seed. If your desire is clear, your imagination will supply the plans. If your desire is vague, your imagination will remain idle. The practical side of imagination. Imagination isn't just daydreaming. It's not about fantasies with no action. It is a workshop. It's where you build the blueprints for riches. Hill gives examples of how imagination has made fortunes. A businessman imagined ways to market his product more effectively and built a national brand. An industrialist imagined a new process for steel and revolutionized an entire industry. A salesperson imagined a better way to serve his clients and created loyalty that turned into wealth. Your wealth will not come from luck. It will come from your ability to use imagination deliberately. Imagination and the American dream. For a U.S. audience, this chapter hits home. America itself is a product of imagination. The Founding Fathers imagined a nation built on freedom, and it became real. Innovators in the U.S. imagined industries that changed the world. Thomas Edison imagined electric light replacing candles. Steve Jobs imagined a personal computer in every home. Oprah Winfrey imagined a media empire that gave her not only influence, but also wealth. Each of these figures had nothing at first, only imagination and desire. They turned invisible ideas into billion-dollar realities. How to develop your imagination. Feed your mind with knowledge. Synthetic imagination works best when you have material to work with. Read books, study industries, observe trends. The more raw material you have, the more combinations your imagination can create. Give yourself quiet time. Creative imagination often requires silence. Many successful people take time to think without distraction. Bill Gates is famous for his Think Weeks, where he isolates himself to imagine future technologies. Mix with other imaginative people. Ideas grow when shared. The Wright brothers fed off each other's creativity. Today, startup founders gather in hubs like Silicon Valley or Austin to spark imagination together. Act on your ideas. Imagination without action dies. As Hill writes, ideas are intangible forces, but they have the power to live when put into motion. Your imagination will grow stronger each time you turn an idea into reality. Stories of imagination creating wealth. Let's explore some real-life stories that illustrate this chapter's power. Walt Disney. He imagined a place where families could enjoy magic together. Everyone told him it was impossible. Today, Disney generates billions every year, all from his imagination. Elon Musk. He imagined electric cars dominating the road, reusable rockets cutting space travel costs, and even colonizing Mars. Tesla and SpaceX are the results of those imaginative leaps. Sarah Blakely. She imagined a better type of women's undergarment. That imagination turned into Spanx, making her a billionaire. Each of these examples proves Hill's point. Riches begin in the mind, specifically in the imagination. The danger of underusing imagination. Most people never develop their imagination. They stick to routines, never thinking beyond what is. Hill warns us, if you don't use imagination to plan your future, you will spend your life helping others achieve theirs. Think of the millions of employees who spend their days carrying out someone else's vision. There's nothing wrong with honest work, but the greatest wealth goes to those who dared to imagine something different. Turning imagination into plans, Hill emphasizes that imagination must be linked with organized planning. A dream without a plan is just fantasy. A dream with a plan becomes a business, a career, a fortune. For example, an idea for a new product must be turned into a prototype, then into a marketing plan, then into a sales system. An idea for a service must be organized into steps, costs, and strategies. Imagination supplies the what. Planning supplies the how. Together, they create wealth. Why most people underestimate imagination. Many people hear the word imagination and think of children drawing, daydreamers staring out the window, or novelists writing stories. They don't see it as a tool for making money. But that's a mistake. Think about this. Every job you've ever had was created because someone once imagined a company. Every city you've lived in was imagined before it was built. Every paycheck you've received came from a system that someone imagined first. Imagination is not optional. It is the foundation of wealth. Hill tells us that successful people use imagination as deliberately as a builder uses a blueprint. Without imagination, you can only repeat what already exists. With imagination, you can create something entirely new or reshape what exists into something better. The two gateways, synthetic and creative imagination. We touched on this in part 1, but now let's expand. Synthetic imagination, the practical gateway. This is where most fortunes begin. You don't have to invent something brand new. You can take existing ideas and rearrange them. For example, Starbucks didn't invent coffee. They imagined a new way to present it. a third place between home and work where people could gather. McDonald's didn't invent the hamburger. They imagined a system of fast service and consistency that turned a small restaurant into a global empire. Synthetic imagination is about connecting the dots differently than others. Creative imagination, the inspired gateway. This is rarer, but incredibly powerful. Creative imagination brings entirely new ideas into the world. It is what Einstein described when he said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Think about the leap from the telegraph to the telephone, from the horse carriage to the automobile, from letters to email. These were not just rearrangements. They were brand new possibilities. Hill believed creative imagination often connects with infinite intelligence, a higher source of inspiration that gives us flashes of genius. The role of desire in imagination. Why do some people get life-changing ideas while others don't? The answer is desire. A person with a burning desire attracts ideas. It's like tuning a radio. Desire tunes your imagination to receive solutions. Without it, your imagination has no direction. Hill gives the example of Edwin C. Barnes, who had one burning desire: to become Thomas Edison's business partner. That desire fueled his imagination until he found a way to make it happen. Eventually, he did become Edison's partner, proving that desire activates imagination. Imagination in everyday wealth creation. Let's bring this down to earth. How can you use imagination in your daily life? Career growth. Imagine yourself in the next position you want. What skills, relationships, and results would you need? Then start creating the plan. Side hustles. Many successful businesses started as imaginative side hustles. Etsy shops, YouTube channels, freelance services. All started with someone imagining a different path. Investing. Investors use imagination to see opportunities others don't. Warren Buffett imagined the long-term growth of companies when others were only chasing short-term profits. Imagination isn't limited to the big breakthroughs. It's in the small decisions you make every day. Historical proof. Fortunes born from imagination. Andrew Carnegie imagined a steel empire at a time when steel was seen as too expensive to dominate. His imagination reshaped American industry. Thomas Edison imagined a world lit by electricity instead of candles and lamps. Today, no one can imagine life without it. Madam C.J. Walker imagined a line of beauty products for African American women when the industry ignored them. She became America's first self-made female millionaire. Steve Jobs imagined computers not just for scientists, but for everyone. Then imagined music in your pocket. Then phones that were also powerful computers. Apple became one of the world's most valuable companies. Each of these individuals proves Hill's teaching. Wealth begins in imagination. Why fear blocks imagination? One of the greatest enemies of imagination is fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of what others will think. When you let fear dominate, your imagination shuts down. Instead of imagining what could go right, you imagine only what could go wrong. That's why so many people never start. The wealthy flip this. They use imagination to picture success so vividly that it pulls them forward. Even if fear is present, the vision is stronger. Training your imagination. Imagination is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Hill encourages exercises to develop imagination, such as daily visualization. Spend a few minutes every morning imagining your goal as already achieved. See it clearly. Feel it deeply. Idea journals. Carry a notebook or use your phone to capture ideas the moment they come. Many fortunes were lost because people forgot their flashes of imagination. Mastermind groups. Surround yourself with others who think big. Collective imagination multiplies faster than individual imagination. Remember, one good idea, acted upon, can change your entire financial future. Why imagination is more valuable than capital. Many people think you need money to make money, but history shows the opposite. You need imagination first. Capital without imagination is useless, but imagination without capital often attracts money. Investors, partners, and opportunities flow to those with powerful ideas. This is why Hill places imagination before organized planning in the sequence of wealth. First, you imagine. Then, you plan. Then, money follows. Part 2 Summary. Imagination is the foundation of every fortune. There are 2 gateways: synthetic, rearranging old ideas, and creative, receiving new ones. Burning desire fuels imagination, giving it direction. Fear blocks imagination. Faith and vision expand it. Imagination can be trained, and one strong idea can create millions. Napoleon Hill didn't include imagination as a passing idea. He placed it at the center of success because he knew wealth is first built in the mind, then in the world. In this part, let's explore how imagination works in practice, why it separates leaders from followers, and how you can deliberately build a wealthy mindset through imaginative thinking. Imagination, the difference between leaders and followers. Followers see things as they are. Leaders imagine things as they could be. Take Henry Ford. The world said, horses are fine, cars are toys for the rich. Ford imagined a car that every working man could afford. He didn't just rearrange what existed, he reimagined the entire market. That's the power of imagination. It lets you see opportunity where others see limitation. Hill writes that the greatest leaders are those who can project their vision into the minds of others so clearly that people want to follow. Imagination doesn't just build wealth, it builds move, turning intangible dreams into tangible wealth. Think about this. An idea has no weight. You can't hold it. Yet entire empires are built on nothing more than an idea acted upon. Every skyscraper in New York was first just a sketch. Every billion-dollar company started as words on paper. This is why Hill insists that imagination is more valuable than capital. Money can vanish, buildings can fall, but imagination, once developed, can rebuild wealth again and again. The formula: desire plus imagination plus faith. Hill gives us a formula that is worth memorizing. Desire gives you the goal. Imagination creates the plan. Faith keeps you moving until it's real. Without imagination, desire burns out. Without faith, imagination dies in doubt. But when all 3 align, the result is unstoppable wealth. Imagination and the mastermind principle. One of Hill's greatest discoveries is that imagination expands when shared in a mastermind group. When 2 or more minds come together with a definite purpose, their collective imagination multiplies. Ideas bounce, spark, and grow. This is why so many successful entrepreneurs work in teams. The Wright brothers combined their curiosity and imagination to invent the airplane. Bill Gates and Paul Allen combined their vision to launch Microsoft. Larry Page and Sergey Brin imagined a new way to search the internet and created Google. One mind is powerful. 2 minds are explosive. A mastermind of many, limitless. The practical side of imagination. Let's break imagination into steps you can use today. Picture the end goal. Ask, what does my ideal life look like in 10 years? Don't limit yourself. See the house, the car, the lifestyle, the impact. Work backward. Once you see the destination, imagine the path. What businesses, skills, or investments could take you there? Rearrange resources. Use synthetic imagination to see new ways of using what you already have. Could your skills be offered in a different market? Could your job knowledge become a business? Listen for flashes. Pay attention to creative imagination. Inspiration often comes when you're relaxed, while walking, showering, or driving. Keep a notebook handy. Test and refine. Imagination without action is daydreaming. Act on your ideas. Adjust as you go. Every failed attempt refines your imagination further. The enemies of imagination. If imagination is so powerful, why doesn't everyone use it? Because most people kill it before it can grow. The three biggest killers are doubt, the voice that says, "This will never work," criticism, listening to others who can't see your vision, routine thinking, doing things the same way because that's how it's always been done. Hill warns, to protect your imagination, you must guard it like a seed. Share it only with people who can nurture it. Never expose it to constant negativity, or it will die before it bears fruit. Stories of imagination in action. Colonel Sanders, at age 65, he imagined his fried chicken recipe could be more than a family meal. After rejection from over 1,000 restaurants, his imagination turned into Kentucky Fried Chicken, a global brand. Elon Musk, he imagined electric cars, reusable rockets, and colonizing Mars. People laughed, but imagination backed by action made him one of the richest men alive. J.K. Rowling, she imagined a boy wizard while stuck on a delayed train. That single flash of imagination turned into the Harry Potter empire, making her a billionaire. Why you must act fast on Imagination Hill warns. Ideas are like guests, they won't wait forever. If you don't act, they move on to someone else who will. History shows this. Countless people imagined social media before Facebook. But Zuckerberg acted. Many imagined online shopping before Amazon. But Bezos acted. Thousands imagined electric cars before Tesla. But Musk acted. The difference is not the idea, it's the courage to act. Training exercise for you. Here's something you can do right now. Tonight, write down 10 ideas that could improve your finances. Don't judge them, just write. Tomorrow, pick one and imagine it in detail. What would it look like in action? Over the week, test it in a small way. See what happens. Even if 9 ideas fail, one could change your life forever. Imagination separates leaders from followers. Wealth is first built in the mind, then in the world. Desire plus imagination plus faith equals financial power. Mastermind groups multiply imagination. Protect your ideas from doubt, criticism, and routine. Act quickly before ideas fade or pass to others. We've seen how imagination fuels wealth, leadership, and innovation. In this part, let's break down how to develop imagination as a daily skill, how the wealthiest people in history trained their minds, and how you can do the same. Daily habits that build imagination. Napoleon Hill hinted at several habits, and successful people today prove them. Reading widely. Reading fills your mental toolbox with raw materials for synthetic imagination. The more knowledge you have, the more connections your mind can make. Journaling ideas. Write down flashes of inspiration daily. Don't trust memory. It's a poor storage system. Edison kept over 3,000 notebooks of ideas. Example, combining books and the internet equals Amazon Kindle. This is the imagination most entrepreneurs use first. You don't need to invent from nothing. You rearrange existing parts into something new. Creative imagination. Example, Nikola Tesla receiving visions of his electrical inventions. Example, Einstein imagining riding on a beam of light, leading to the theory of relativity. This form often comes in flashes, and Hill says it connects to infinite intelligence. Whether you see it as divine inspiration or subconscious genius, it delivers breakthrough ideas. Why most people waste their imagination? Here's a truth that may sting. Most people spend their imagination on fear instead of opportunity. They imagine losing money, failing, being judged. They rehearse worst-case scenarios until fear becomes reality. Hill warns that fear is just negative imagination. The same energy that creates wealth can create poverty if focused in the wrong direction. So the wealthy discipline their imagination. They train it to see opportunities, not obstacles. Case study: Walt Disney. Walt Disney is a perfect example of applied imagination. He imagined Mickey Mouse when people thought animation was just short comedy sketches. He imagined Disneyland when bankers laughed, calling it a crazy carnival idea. Today, the Disney empire is worth hundreds of billions, built entirely from imagination. Notice, Disney didn't just dream, he executed. Imagination without action is fantasy. Imagination with persistence becomes wealth. How to guard your imagination? Hill cautions us, your imagination is fragile in the beginning. Protect it from naysayers who don't share your vision. Routine that traps you in the same cycle. Fear-driven media that fills your mind with doubt. Instead, feed your imagination with success stories, positive masterminds, knowledge and inspiration. As Hill says, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But the conception happens in imagination first. Your imagination blueprint exercise. Try this tonight. Write one bold financial dream in your journal. Imagine it in detail. See the lifestyle, the freedom, the impact. Break it into steps backward. Ask, what would I need to do first? Second, third. Share it only with one trusted person who encourages, not criticizes. Do this daily for 30 days. By the end, your imagination will be sharper, your vision clearer, and your motivation unstoppable. The 3 levels of imagination. Napoleon Hill describes 2 forms, synthetic and creative. But in practice, imagination often develops in 3 stages. Copying. The first stage is imitation. You copy what others are doing. Example: a beginner entrepreneur opens a store that looks like every other store. This stage is necessary because it builds foundations. Combining. The second stage is rearranging parts to create something slightly new. Example: Starbucks didn't invent coffee, but it combined Italian cafe culture with American branding. Creating. The third stage is true originality, where entirely new concepts emerge. Example: the Wright brothers building the first airplane. If you're stuck copying, don't worry. Everyone starts there. The key is to push forward until your imagination reaches the higher levels. Imagination and wealth creation. Hard work without imagination equals exhaustion. Imagination without action equals daydreaming. Hard work plus imagination equals wealth. This formula explains why some create empires while others stay stuck in survival. Historical examples of imagination at work. Henry Ford. People said cars were toys for the rich. Ford imagined an assembly line that made cars affordable for everyone. That imagination changed global transportation. Oprah Winfrey. She didn't just host talk shows. She imagined media as a platform for empowerment. Her vision transformed daytime TV into a multi-billion-dollar empire. Jeff Bezos. He imagined an online bookstore that eventually became Amazon. Today, Amazon is the backbone of global e-commerce. These weren't accidents. They were conscious uses of imagination. The role of belief in imagination. Imagination is fragile without belief. If you imagine something but don't believe it, it fades. Belief is like fuel. Without it, imagination never leaves the ground. Hill emphasizes what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. So belief is not optional. It is the bridge between thought and reality. Why fear destroys imagination? Fear is imagination used against yourself. Fear imagines losing money. Fear imagines being laughed at. Fear imagines worst-case scenarios. Hill calls fear the great enemy of achievement. The wealthy redirect imagination from fear to faith. Modern practical exercises to grow imagination. Here are 4 you can start today. Reverse engineering dreams. Imagine your dream life 10 years from now. Then ask, what did I do in year 9, year 8, all the way to year 1? Write it down step by step. Idea quotas. Thomas Edison forced himself to write 10 new ideas a day, no matter how silly. By the law of numbers, some became brilliant. Dream room technique. Dedicate a small space to imagination. Vision boards, books, quotes, drawings. Surround yourself with visual triggers. Silent hour. Take 1 hour a week without phone, internet, or people. Just you and your thoughts. Most people never give themselves this gift, but it is where breakthroughs happen. Imagination and mastermind groups. Napoleon Hill insists imagination works best in a mastermind alliance, a group of like-minded people exchanging ideas. Why? One brain has limits. Multiple minds create exponential imagination. Think of the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, built on each other's ideas. Think of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Together, they imagined Apple. Surround yourself with people who feed, not drain, your imagination. Imagination as the blueprint of life. Everything man-made that you see around you, your phone, the chair you sit on, the building you live in, was first an idea in someone's mind. The phone began as imagination in Alexander Graham Bell's mind. The airplane lived in the Wright brothers' imagination before it flew. Your favorite social media app was once just an idea scribbled on paper. This means imagination is the blueprint of reality. Nothing comes into existence until it is first created in thought. So if your life today doesn't look the way you want it to, it's because your imagination has been small or unfocused. The 2 forces, habit versus imagination. Most people let habit run their lives. They wake up, eat the same breakfast, go to work, come home, watch TV, sleep, repeat. This cycle leaves no room for imagination. Successful people break this cycle by deliberately feeding imagination. They read books that expand their thinking. They spend time with people who challenge them. They practice creating instead of consuming. Habit keeps you where you are. Imagination pulls you where you want to be. Why children have stronger imagination? Have you noticed how children can turn a cardboard box into a spaceship? Or imagine an entire world with nothing but a stick? Children naturally use imagination because they aren't limited by fear or logic. Adults, however, shut imagination down because they fear failure. They get trapped in routine. They value logic over creativity. To unlock millionaire-level imagination, you must return to that childlike freedom where no idea feels too big or too impossible. Training imagination like a muscle. Napoleon Hill emphasized that imagination improves with use. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Here are 5 practical imagination workouts. Daily idea journaling. Write down at least 5 new ideas every morning. Don't judge them, just capture. Visualization practice. Close your eyes and see yourself living your dream life in detail. What do you see, hear, feel, smell, taste? The more vivid, the more powerful. Constraint challenges. Give yourself limits and force imagination to work. Example, how can I start a business with only $100? Role model rehearsal. Ask, how would Elon Musk imagine this problem? How would Oprah? How would Steve Jobs? Borrow their lenses. Invention time. Once a week, take an ordinary object and imagine 10 new uses for it. These simple practices can transform imagination from a passive thought into an active tool for wealth creation. The danger of wasted imagination. Not all imagination builds success. Some people use imagination in destructive ways, worrying constantly about money, imagining negative outcomes in relationships, replaying past failures instead of creating future victories. This is called negative imagination. It doesn't just waste energy, it actually programs the subconscious to create failure. The wealthy discipline themselves to redirect imagination only toward positive, constructive visions. Examples of imagination in action. Nikola Tesla imagined inventions so clearly in his mind that he didn't need to build prototypes. He saw them operating mentally before creating them. Walt Disney walked through swamps and empty land and saw castles, rides, and millions of families smiling. Today, Disney parks generate billions. Howard Schultz imagined Starbucks as more than coffee. He saw it as a third place between home and work. That vision changed coffee culture worldwide. Your imagination is your most powerful asset. It decides whether you stay stuck or rise to greatness. Subscribe to Millionaire Mind USA 1M. If you're ready to train your imagination like a muscle and unlock millionaire-level thinking, like and share this video with someone who feels stuck in routine. Comment below. What's one small daily habit you'll use to grow your imagination starting today?